This normal distribution question is about SAT and ACT scores. We have the mean for SATs. I already typed it in here. The standard deviation for SATs. Now you have to be careful. There's two means. There's a mean for the ACT test, which I put below here, and a standard distribution for the ACT test, which I typed in here. So our standard deviation 4.9, our mean 21.7, and then the SAT 1105 mean and 202 standard deviation. All right, I don't believe the 8 years is relevant, so that number is not going to be used in any of our calculations. I'm going to do this with the Excel functions, either norm dist or norm inv, and there's multi-parts on this. And let's start with part A. So a student gets an SAT score that is in the 76th percentile. So we're trying to figure out the score. We're given the percentile. And we'll try norm dist first and see what that gets us. So norm dist. All right, X is a score. And notice we don't have the score. We're trying to find the SAT score. So we know the percentile. So we're going to use norm inv. And probability, this is the 0.76. The mean, this is the SAT. Make sure you take the mean from the SAT and the standard deviation for the SAT. There we go. We do want to round the answer to a whole number. So of course you can round this yourself. Remember, you can also, I'm going to try to do it without switching to number format. It already is, it switched it automatically to number format. So as soon as I push that decimal out of there, notice it's 1247, and now it rounds it to 1248. So that's the rounded to a whole number. And now we're going to do part B. What would be the equivalent ACT score for this student? It's assumed that two tests measure the same aptitude, which means the student would be in the same percentile for the ACT test as they are for the SAT. So basically can redo this here. Now I'm going to copy everything here. I guess I can just copy it here. Paste it here, but notice what just happened. It shifted everything. It's not so bad. Remember, we want the ACT score, so I need the mean is the blue, the B10. That needs to be the mean now for the ACT. The red is the standard deviation, and that needs to be the 4.9. So I'm just dragging it. Make sure your cursor turns to that four-way arrow, and that lets you move it. Of course, the other way to move it, instead of using F10, I want F8. So I just replace the 10 by an 8, and then hit enter. So there's my ACT score. That one's already a whole number, so we don't have to do anything there. If yours is not a whole number, you may need to change the decimal value to round it. Oh, I think when I pasted it, actually, it copied the number format. Yes, that is what happened. So if you need a more decimal place accuracy, do that. Okay, so part C, it says a student got a score of 1570 on the SAT, find the equivalent ACT score. So this one's a little bit tricky. We have to first figure out what percentile they're in. So our first student was in the 76th percentile. This student scored higher than that student on the SAT. So they're going to be above the 76th percentile. And we need to figure out what percentile they're in. So I'm going to type norm dot. Let's just look at the inv, which is what we used before. This one requires a probability, and that's exactly what we're trying to find here. So this one should be norm.dist. Now we're given a score, which is the 1570. If I could type 1570. All right, this is an SAT score, so I have to make sure I go and grab the SAT. The next one is mean, comma, standard deviation, comma, and we almost always go with cumulative true. All right, so this is the percentile. The student scored very close to 1600, so they're going to have a percentile very close to 100%. So here's their percentile. So that's percentile. Let's turn this into an ACT score. All right. Again, norm dot, and we want dist. Nope, we want inverse. I know we don't want dist because the first parameter is the score, and that's exactly what we're trying to figure out. Norm dot inverse. All right, probability is what we just computed. All right, now which mean, which standard deviation? I want to turn this into an ACT score, so I need the ACT mean, which is now at the top of the screen there, the ACT mean, the ACT standard deviation, and this should give me the equivalent ACT score. So it would be 32.97. I didn't keep the information on how much rounding to do on this problem. I do remember that it wanted to round to a whole number up here. I do have the right answers over here, so it looks like they want 1 decimal place. Accuracy on this, and they want less 1 decimal accuracy on that, it looks like. Yeah, so just pay attention to rounding. Some questions don't matter, but some questions rounding does matter.